And welcome back, everyone, to the second iteration of today's first day of the Supreme League Europe. I am once again joined by my wonderful co-host Brady. Are you still as excited as you were before?
I am super excited. That 2 hour break could not have gone fast like slower. I've been on the edge of my seat for this next game.
What is
Woo!
the next game that we're going to be having? Introduce us to the game.
This time around, we're going to be seeing The Last Choice, TLC, playing off against Crown of the Ruined King, CRK. And I got a feeling it's going to be a good one.
A good one it will be. Have you looked into either team, and what have you found out?
I found out that I think we're going to be seeing some scaling bot lane picks, most likely, maybe a couple of Enchanter supports, potentially. That's what I'd expect to see. A lot of aggression in the jungle. And yeah, I reckon it's gonna be a jungle deciding kind of game, in my opinion.
That is what the current meta is sort of indicating, and I think we saw a little bit of that in the first game that we had. Obviously, there was also huge influence by the support. Luchesco having a terrific game there. But yeah, one of the TLC members is literally called Jinx, so I hope to see that your guess reigns true of us seeing some scaling bot lanes. Other than that, TLC specifically have a very, very rigid champion pool. They seem to play literally everything that comes into meta and then some extra spice. It is very, very interesting to see how well they keep up throughout the patches. And TLC obviously being an org in general that has played together for quite some time. I believe their support and their mid laner at some point swapped roles, which is not the most uncommon. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what we can get out of those two.
Might expect to see some sort of support in the mid lane, potentially.
Well,
Some
from
sort of
Lago's
reflect.
champion pool generally, that is not quite what I've seen actually. He does tend to favor some of the really aggressive scaling carries. Not just scaling carries, but just aggressive sort of mid laners.
Okay. And, talking more about the other team, Crown of the Ruined King, I think, they've got very some wider champion pools. I feel like they have the potential to play a more aggressive support. I feel like they I think the only place that they're maybe a little bit more restricted champion wise might be down the mid lane. From what I've seen, it's you know he likes his more supportive picks. I feel like.
Okay. Well, what kind of supportive picks are you thinking about in general, or maybe without giving too much away before the draft? But are there any other supportive players on that team?
Honestly, I feel like the outside of your enchanter bot, I feel like it's gonna be a lot of a roaming mid kind of a game.
Well, it
But
does
yeah,
look like we've actually transitioned into the draft here.
kind of like
So we're
right.
already starting to see those first two bans coming through, both in the AD carry position.
Hmm.
You can see that it's Samira and Ezreal in this case. Samira being both of those actually are extremely targeted towards the two players that we
The
are going to be
respective champ. Yeah,
forcing on. Yeah.
Thresh.
And then two support bans. Thresh, a super common meta ban, probably the best support
Mhm.
in the metagame at the moment. And then Seraphine, another targeted ban. Bianco loves his Viego. I know that for a fact.
Oh, yeah. But I think teams respecting each other here in the bans. They're trying
Yeah.
to stay meta, but at the same time make sure that people are getting out of their comfort zones a little bit.
Well,
So,
Rel
another.
not another not too meta support ban here. So
Mhm.
it's more so really them saying, okay, we don't really care if you pick the highest priority champions. And you said we're gonna be seeing 80 carries that scale, and we already see the first pick Jinx, but not for TLC.
Away by CRK
Wow,
here.
and an insta lock Fiddlesticks. This is a statement.
Fiddle Galio too. That's an
Mm-hmm.
engage right there.
Yeah. That looks like a practiced comp. That looks like someone thought, how do we layer two circles on top of each other? How do we make the Venn diagram? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I like that.
Well, and then the Swain.
Swain.
Do you think this is a support Swain?
I mean, okay, they're hovering the Lulu, so I'm gonna go ahead and say no.
Well, Lulu's
Um,
solo lane has also been hugely
true.
popular.
I think Swain can provide a lot in the bot lane though, a lot of
Hmm.
snowball potential out of the champion.
Yeah.
So I think CRK are just really trying to throw around the flex picks a lot.
And then another insta-lock. This looks like TLC has entirely planned out their draft beforehand.
Mhm.
This looks staged. It is
Looks
not staged,
confident.
ladies and gentlemen.
The Shenban.
All right, so now they're targeting that top side. What is remaining still is the jungler and possibly the top laner for
Mm-hmm.
CRK. Whereas on TLC side, we see an AD carry ban, which obviously is still missing, and that mid lane, unless Lago takes the Galio into mid lane. Do you expect that to happen? Or do you expect that to be a support champion?
For me, I think Lago's looking to play that in the mid lane. I think support Galio is good, but when he has a bit more economy, he actually deals a surprising amount of damage, and I think Lago is comfortable on the champ. So I'd like to see it mid this game.
I've also seen him play a considerable amount of Galio.
Mhm.
How do you feel about the Galio Swain matchup if that is something that we're opting towards?
Uh, it all depends on how the 80 carries are chosen. I think the all-in potential from the Galio is a little bit higher, but Swain is he's
Oh,
not someone you want to
Callista. Now, a Callista is definitely indicating some sort of engaged support, and Galio fits that exact stigma. So, if there was ever a time or an AD carry to pair the Galio with, it would be a Callista.
exactly, and I think Callista is definitely a statement champion here. That is a champion that requires a lot of skill. That is a champion that really wants to snowball early game, and let's see if he's got what it takes to pull it off.
Explosiveness is what you were asking for earlier, and that Callista lock-in basically secures it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh
Olaf on
boy.
the other side. Usually, we're not huge fans of Olaf when we see it in the general metagame. But when paired with an enchanter like the Karma or the Lulu in this case,
Mm-hmm.
it actually has so much more viability because of how easy it makes it to get into team fights and to be protected around the team fights. And then
That
the Camille into the Ornn. Now
one.
this is a really really rough matchup for Ornn. This is a great counter pick, and I think especially recently we've started to see more development back towards the Camille after some of the other top lane carries have been
Mm-hmm.
nerfed, and we've already seen Ornn deeply exploited today. Now
Jeez.
the
The
last lock-in
Leona.
will be the Leona, as you just mentioned, and we're going to be seeing the Galio mid now. Leona,
This is a
another engaged support, of course.
Yeah, this is a dangerous bot lane here from Team TLC. They're not looking to mess around. They're looking for kills and snowballs.
Yep. Well, kills and snowballs, they're looking for pretty much across the map. As we're going to
Mm-hmm.
be loading into the in-game draft now. Hopefully that will go as expediently as the first part of the draft has been. TLC really coming out the gate snappy, decisive in their pick and ban already, and then also the kind of champions they picked being hugely sort of brazen and saying like, this is what we want, this is what we're going to
Now,
go for.
looking at the comp, that is probably going to be a Lulu mid, in my opinion. What do you think of the Lulu versus Galio matchup?
I think this is a Lulu support. Based on the players that I've seen from Crown of the Ruin King, I would say that there is about an 80% probability that Confi takes that Lulu because she is one to really appreciate the Enchanter playstyle. And then directly paired with the Jinx, it is also quite common. So
True.
if you're asking me, however, about the Galio Lulu matchup, I think it's a pretty uninteresting one. I think it's pretty boring. Lulu
Lulu does what
basically
Lulu
gets to
does.
do what she wants for
Yeah.
free, pretty much. However, the Swain Galio matchup has a bit more volatility in it, and I think it is a matchup that can be dominated by the player that actually manages to secure lane priority consistently. Galio wanting to roam and
Mm-hmm.
not having a huge amount of help in his own lane from the Fiddlesticks, because Fiddlesticks tends to be a support that likes to be played around and is very effective when done so.
Where do you think the focal point of this game is going to be held?
Well, there has to be that mid lane, right? That mid lane transitioning into the bot lane, because the Kalista and the Leona are obviously hugely aggressive. And we've seen 2v2 solo kills already. So
Mm-hmm.
there's obviously, if there's going to be a lane with solo kills, it will be that bot lane. Other than that, I expect a lot of attention to be paid towards the mid lane so that the mid laners can be unlocked in order to be freer to roam around the map. And then, I don't know, the Camille is sort of the X factor here, right?
I agree with you. I think if Camille can get herself away from lane or win lane hard enough, she's a difference maker, honestly.
She
But I
could be
think
the difference maker, yeah.
her pick potential, her split pushing, I can't see a world where anyone on the enemy team can match Camille in the side lane. Really.
Where do you see then in general, like in the early stages of the game, how do you see the winning lanes? Or who's winning lane
Well,
in general?
I think it's safe to assume Camille should win top, right? I think Lulu should be ahead mid. I don't know if she'll manage to, or if she's playing mid. If it's the Swain mid, I think it's more of a skill matchup. But I think the real focal point, oh, looks like a bit of a technical issue, but
Someone
we'll
has
get that
left
sorted.
draft, but we're back on the.
But
Going to be
either
back
way,
momentarily, yeah.
I think Olaf needs to stop this Callista from doing what Callista wants to do in the early game. I think that's super important because if she gets snowballing, I don't feel like there's any way he's going to stop her if she ever gets fed. Because Callista's particularly potent kiting away from champions like the Olaf. So I think it's important that they shut that lane down early and give their Jinx Lulu a chance to scale.
Well, there is always the polymorph that can really make the difference. And a champion that is sometimes so aggressively dashing in, trying to use its mobility as Callista oftentimes is, being polymorphed in the middle of the team is absolutely tragic.
Do you expect the Callista to maybe perhaps run a cleanse this game?
I would expect that, yeah. I think it
Okay.
is quite necessary solely for the polymorph. And Callista also a champion that you oftentimes don't feel so bad for dropping the heal because there is so much sustain in the inherent item build. Someone
Yeah,
just
she
picked
also-
Vayne. I guess we're going to be remaking draft again.
This is it's interesting.
This is cursed.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you guys are going to get to hear us talk more about the comps in general and maybe have a bit of fun as we just observe
trying their
what yeah, they're trying.
They're
Observe
trying
what
their
unfolds.
Oh man. Whew. But yeah, I think the Callista in particular really frees up the Leona to just go ham.
Mm-hmm.
Like tower dives, post level 6, like just the engaged threat that the last choice have. I really think Crown of the Rune King need to watch themselves mid game especially.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. 2v anything around the Olaf and the Lulu early game is bound to go well for them, I feel like though. Yeah.
So then the Fiddlesticks, right? The Fiddlesticks was picked in R1. So such extreme comfort. Where do you expect this comfort to be coming from?
Well, talking about like this is a Bianco pick, right? Like he plays this champion, he's comfortable on this champion. Like it really comes down to how much control of the map they have. Cause Fiddle, when he's sat in a brush and the enemy knows, is kind of a sitting duck, right? He can't really do a whole lot. But like you've also seen the Fiddlesticks get that 5-man team fight like over the wall of Baron Pit and just wipe them.
I remember
So
a particular medic moment where he screams, "Here comes the Crow Storm," and it is very very deeply ingrained into my mind because of Inspired's performance in the LEC this season. So yeah, that classic fiddlesticks over the wall. That is
All
really
right.
what they're looking for, yeah.
A third time's the charm on draft here today. Let's see if we can get it going.
So do you think that there's a specific combination with the Galio? Do you think that that is a very deliberate thing that they've picked together?
Well, yes, but there's also a bit of flexibility in that, like, Leona can be sent in, and you can ult on top of Leona as well. Like, they have a lot of options because they have just every single one of their champions is capable of hard engaging
Yeah.
to some extent.
That makes
So
Fiddlesticks feel so great that he doesn't have to be the one to initiate the
yeah.
fight. That is such a charm.
Hmm.
And with Fiddlesticks, the number one thing that I always find so funny to see when I see a Fiddlesticks, in just in terms of numbers, is the amount of vision scores these players amass is just outrageous sometimes because
mean,
of the
pass-
utility of the passive, right? Of the
Yeah.
effigies. They're just like amazing vision tools.
Mm-hmm.
And we've now confirmed that it is going to be the Swain mid.
What do you think in terms of like objective setup?
Mhm.
I feel like Team CRK they really don't have much in terms of consistent engage. So they really need to force the issue, get to these objectives first, and really fight around the fact that the enemy team has to walk into you.
Well,
Because
that
I
is
don't.
usually true with an Olaf. However, as I mentioned earlier, there is an Olaf with an enchanter, and that sort of transforms the battlefield a little bit. Obviously, it doesn't change it completely because there's not enough sort of force behind the engage in a lot of cases. However, an Olaf with an enchanter has so many more avenues through which he can just run into a team that it can really warp the state of the game.
Yeah,
So
I,
I do agree with what you're saying that there is that sort of hard engage is really, really missing from Team CRK. And draft looks pretty rough at the moment, but what they can do is they can secure priority in a lot of the lanes, and we mentioned the X factor of the Camille.
I think if Camille can maybe drag the Ornn into a side lane all game, I think it really hinders Team TLC.
Yeah.
But I feel like Camille in a team fight isn't maybe as effective as she is in a side lane.
The problem is that in a lot of cases the Galio can just sort of like half-heartedly
Deliver.
answer the Camille. And
But
instead of having the Ornn tied to that lane, you just have the Galio tied to the lane, and then whenever the team fight starts, you just Galio ult.
I would definitely like to see Team TLC trying to force the issue with the amount of engage that they have, but it kind of plays into CRK a little bit. So honestly, I think the drafts are more even than it might seem.
Okay. Well, in the first game, we saw that lane priority was absolutely everything.
Yeah.
Absolutely everything. And then the level 1. The level 1 was hugely important as well. Who do you think takes the edge in a normal level 1 scenario here?
Here, I mean, just based off the amount of CC level 1, I think I have to give it to TLC depending on what abilities people start.
Mm-hmm.
But if the fight gets a little bit more drawn out, you have to give it to the Olaf drinks and the Lulu, right? So it kind of depends on how it plays out a little bit. But yeah, we'll see.
I generally feel pretty good about Crown of the Ruined Kings level 1. Camille, when she starts
Really?
with the E, is actually extremely potent, and then having that shielding from Lulu on just the right target can actually make a huge difference in these sort of small scraps where it's down to 1 or 2 auto attacks a lot of the time. And the sheer power of the constant axe spam from an Olaf in a level 1 scenario is absolutely outrageous. Of course, a Callista can get a lot done when she does get to sort of proc her passive proc her E on a lot of people and get to move around. But that's not really the case a lot of the time level 1.
Especially with an Olaf slow in his queue.
And
Might
if the
throw a spanner in the works.
Well, the one thing that we can say is if the Galio starts W, then that sort of changes the picture. Of
Mhm.
course, it changes the picture for the lane as well, because a W start Galio is going to be extremely exploitable in the lane itself. However, in a stacked 1v1, like 5v5 scenario, at just level 1, Galio W is actually tremendous.
I feel like it requires the enemy team to walk into it more so, unless he
Yeah.
gets like a flash W play. But I don't expect to see an invade from either team this game.
Okay. Okay.
But
What are you
yeah,
expecting from the general jungle pathing then? Where do you want the junglers to be pathing? Who do you want to scale up? Who do you want? Would you like to see more
well,
gank a lot?
looking at the picture, it depends on how the Olaf chooses to play. If he's gonna play for himself, I think starting bot and clearing up to Scuttle is fine. Maybe look for a dive on the Ornn early game might be good. The Fiddle, he just wants to farm till 6, right? He's gonna full clear. Olaf is as well, but like Olaf kind of wants to get out there a bit more. Fiddle's waiting for his 6. I expect it to be pretty quiet from him unless really free opportunity opens up. But it's I think it's more on the Olaf to make something happen. Otherwise, once we get into the scrappier or the later stages where team fights matter, I think it's just going to be so much easier for Fiddlesticks to do what he wants to do.
Well, you just asked for another team to dive in Ornn. Are you confident in that statement?
I mean, I think played correctly, a Camille Olaf dive onto Ornn can be pretty devastating early levels. It depends on how oppressive this Camille can be.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's definitely an option. I think it's doable. But I personally would like to see the Olaf passing towards bot side because, you know, your Camille should win lane anyway, and you really want to make sure your Jinx Lulu is in prime position to output damage later on.
Well, the thing about that is we're probably not going to be seeing many Fiddlesticks ganks pre-level 6. So, in a lot of cases, you're asking then for the Olaf to be aggressive towards that Kalista Leona lane. That can sometimes be pretty difficult. However, with the slow from the Olaf, the Lulu, and the Jinx, there's actually a lot of tools to slow a Kalista down. And a slowed down Kalista is an extremely vulnerable one.
No cleanse on the Kalista too, by the way. She's opted for the exhaust, which I think it's a choice, definitely.
Well, we are going to be transitioning into the actual game now, once we actually get loaded up, because I don't know what the spectator bug is. Oh, this is the wrong... We gotta get this layout properly.
There we go. It's finally. There we go. A lot of bugs this game.
Alright. So the teams are actually swapped around on the overlay, so... Well, we're going to try to fix that for the time being. As you can take away the level 1.
Looks like both... Oh, red side has opted for the 5-point. Standard stuff. Blue side try to be a little bit cheeky. Get through down through bottom river. Look for an invade level 1. Olaf seems to be opting into starting into top side. He's going to be pathing from blue down, which I think is fine. He's going to be looking to get the early pressure onto the bot lane. Oh, wait. No. He's going to spot that ward. Late invade ruined. But yeah, not a whole lot. A little bit of dancing around both sides of the river, but in the end, nothing really happens.
As I have temporarily at least fixed the overlay. Thank you for taking that level 1 over. So obviously with the online era that we're currently in, gets sometimes a little bit dicey with trying to coordinate everything. Well, but welcome to the game. The minions have already arrived in mid lane, as we see the Galio start with level 1, then getting pulled back by the Swainy. So now, in the spotlight, they actually are spotting each other out and just sort of sniffing each other's butts a little bit. Fiddlesticks, on the other hand, if we take a look at that, we can see that he starts with both the blue and the wolves. This is an extremely difficult positioning, so a lot of practice goes into this.
both junglers opt for the no leash start. They both start wolves. I mean, we expect this kind of thing from Fiddle, but Olaf, he can go leashless, but I feel like not as common. But it's interesting that they both choose to actually do a very similar path.
So that would probably lead them to the opposite sides of the map, as Camille hits level 2 first and actually takes away about 50% of the Ornn's HP already. A very
Doing what is to
winning
be
matchup. And bot side, the Jinx and Lulu secure themselves the level 1 advantage. Another jump in from the Camille here. Trades a little bit more damage onto the Ornn this time, but he does hit level 2 and recover a great deal of HP, as the Olaf has actually found his way into the mid lane. At level 3 already, the pullback from the Swain locks the Galio in place, but he's just going to drop to about 30% of the HP. Now Olaf does also lose a considerable amount of HP of his own, but however, that actually speeds up the clear of the Olaf in the later stages of the game. Leona now having her level 2 and now being able to threaten that engage down towards the bot side.
Good ward place from Galio onto chickens there as well, just to spot out the Olaf. They're really making that one known.
The game will then begin to slowly truck along, as now the Leona is walking forward, misses the E here. Devout actually choosing to step defensively afterwards.
Now, I think if the bot lane decides to freeze this, Olaf could be in a very strong position to potentially gank, but it is warded out, so never mind.
But the Scuttle Crab situation has started. Fiddlesticks already starting to do his, and has taken it down to about 800 or so, as Olaf is now also starting his. However, the entirety of Fiddlesticks' jungle is already empty, so he's already a camp ahead. And he's finished the Scuttle Crab so much quicker than the Olaf too. So the expertise with which Bianco is going through this jungle pathing is absolutely outstanding to see. Ooh, and a nice avoidance there from Lago on the Swain pullback.
I mean, it's also like Olaf is really trying his hardest to get those early ganks in, which is good to see, but I'm not entirely sure if personally the mid lane is the lane to be hard focusing.
Oh, look at this bot lane state. This could be very dangerous in about a minute or so, as Devout goes for a rather peculiar E there. Just still able to take that cannon minion for free though.
But the Fiddle is in position for a potential counter gank. I don't know how effective it'll be, but he is in the area.
I actually believe this lane state to be very dangerous for the side of Crown or the Ruin King. I think they might be finding themselves under a lot of pressure if the Callista is then able to freeze that wave as it comes into her.
But I mean, you always have the level 6 threat from this TLC team, right? That's what they're waiting for. That's their go button. When Fiddle hits 6, Galio hits 6. Like,
ooh, Devout chooses to engage here. Is down a level as they jump on Confi. The polymorph goes down on the Callista, who is level 4. Flashes forward, misses the Pierce, and thus does not manage to secure the TP to kill. TP coming in here from the Camille, as the Callista just drops first, and then Devout goes down as the second member.
well, that was a very, very well reacted to play from blue side, but maybe the Camille TP a little bit overcommitting. She doesn't get anything for that play, and I think she loses a wave for that on the top side. But overall, positive trade for blue side. They get to start up the Drake from that.
They do get to start up the dragon. However, the Olaf is pretty low, so he does have to smite early. However, Fiddle is nowhere close to this, so they do just get the dragon for free. Camp lead, of course, for the Fiddlesticks, as the Ornn gets to farm for free. Has already managed to achieve his level 6 here, and is looking pretty good in terms of health and mana pool.
I mean, Ornn's he's having a good time doing nothing, right?
He's Ornn.
Yeah, he's just.
He
But
do be vibing.
That death from the enemy from red bot team, I think, really hinders them, because Callista from behind is never fun.
That is very true. I speak from personal experience here. But it's also not the end of the world, right? Because they had managed to This is just the gold that goes over in this case. This is not a huge bigger game state. Of course, the dragon also falls as a consequence of the price, but that is to be expected in the Fiddle versus Olaf matchup in general.
I mean, Ornn has TP advantage now. We'll see if he can leverage that at all. See if they can make a play somewhere where he can get involved.
Very good that he called that out. However, mid laners have both TP'd back into their lane, as the CSing is pretty even at the moment.
True. I mean, without jungle interference, I can't see.
Oh, Fiddle is channeling the Crowstorm here. Actually lands the fear onto the Jinx. However, Devout's E once again goes wide. They still might find the kill onto the Jinx because of a beautiful gank from Bianco. Devout really has to get those Zenith's Blade under control, though. Oh.
But what a gank. Oh, and
now here is Lago that has roamed down all the way from mid lane. Will find the solo kill. I mean, the others do get an assist onto the Lulu here.
That's huge.
That is huge.
That's
indeed.
a huge minion wave that Jinx misses there as well. So not only does she die, but I mean, Kallista's a full level
Well, now
up
there is a gank onto the Ornn here by Darkshin, who does not have level 6 yet, and is actually just going to straight up die. Please, guys, stop diving the Ornn.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it was a good attempt, but just caught on the edge of tower range there, and yeah, don't dive an Ornn. What we learned over the last 2 games.
Don't dive the Ornn. Don't ever dive the Ornn.
Oh,
if you
man.
think you're killing him, you're not.
You're not killing. He's killing you, man.
Yeah.
That's what he wants.
Also, now the Ornn is level 8, and Darkshin is actually falling so far behind in experience. Look at that. Even Bianco has a 2-level lead over him.
I mean, that's the price of TPing and missing the waves that you miss. But I mean, Galio is also slightly behind in XP, so perhaps Swain can make something of that. But I feel like TLC here, playing to their team's win cons and power. Like Fiddle gets 6, he immediately ganks, and the Galio is there to follow up afterwards.
And he
Maybe not
immediately
with his ult.
ganks the lane that was struggling. We mentioned that Callista from behind is not
really-
fun at
yeah.
all.
You need to make sure if you're the last choice here
Well,
that
they are going in here because the Lulu has not hit her level 6 yet. This time the Zenith Blade does land, as the Polymorph is not enough to stop Jinx from killing him. Oh, I get so confused because of the names, as the Just League things manages to kill the Callista.
kill is traded.
There we
but
go.
into mid lane,
Now there's a
Swain's
kill up
also
in top
up.
side and the Herald as well, as
Right.
Just League things finds the second kill of the
Finds
bot
the
lane.
double. Yeah, it's looking really bad for this TLC bot lane. Like, it's great when they're getting help, but I feel like again, you pick Callista Leona, you want to go in, you want to win that lane, you want to snowball. When that doesn't happen, it's just a bit sad. I mean,
It's rough, but then again, you pick the Olaf to dominate the Fiddlesticks, and that is also clearly not happening here. So where
Olaf
we
could've-
said the points of power were, it's actually completely flipped here.
yeah.
Oh,
here
did you
comes
see that E from Lago? He actually angled it slightly to the side there, so that when pulling backwards, he wouldn't actually manage to tag the Olaf, so that he could get more distance and actually get away. Nice little play there from Lago to avoid the Olaf.
However, though, you definitely have Just League things is in pole position to really dish out some crazy DPS this game. I feel like later on.
Do you think
But-
there's a lot of dive that could be leveraged on her though? Is she ever
Yeah,
safe?
that's what I was. Yeah, the Ornn, the Galio, and the Fiddle are all ahead, and they're the people as the Jinx that you don't want to be ahead because they're the ones that are gonna take 10 tower shots, dive you, and walk out for free.
I
but-
think as the Jinx, you don't want anyone to be ahead.
Yeah.
Even the
But yeah,
Callista being ahead would be scary. And she has actually also picked up her kill for herself. So if we take a look at the gold here, we see that there is about 600 gold difference between the two 80 carries at the moment. In the grander scheme of things, there's a about 1,000 gold lead, 1.2k gold lead for TLC here overall.
Olaf's gonna get caught on Drake here.
Well, they are sort of moving into that objective here as Crown of the Ruin King. So that actually makes it so that the Fiddlesticks up on the top side will not be able to contest it. And they get their second dragon of the game basically for free.
Doing a really good job with stacking dragons, doing what Olaf does best. Just hard farming and taken out some early objectives, but, you know, Fiddle getting some good punishing in. Not completely for free, but this is to be expected from an Olaf versus Fiddle, right?
Devout having a bit of an off game here. I see a lot of rather strange ability usages. The Zenith Blade going wide there, and then the W randomly. Just wasting a bit of mana. Now the Ornn is still up here towards the top side. There's no one
looking
that
for
could
a kill?
could he potentially solo kill?
Camille's on the back foot here. That is interesting. I think. Oh, Fiddle maybe looking for some sort of setup.
Well, Ornn does interrupt the Camille recall here. Wow, this is actually... I don't think we've been putting enough praise to this Ornn matchup up here. This is incredible.
He's really putting Camille through it, eh?
Yeah.
He's up 10 CS. I mean, the wave will be crashing into Camille, so maybe not quite 10. He's up a kill. He's got an assist.
And he's up just lane priority. He has the lane priority. There are turret plates that have already fallen. Almost 3 down up there.
He also has his first item completed in boots. I mean, Camille's is a bit more expensive, but he's definitely doing a great job.
I think Camille might have that item in base at the moment, which is why she's looking to recall. She does have that 2P available. However, the Ornn passive coming in clutch. Now, what I haven't mentioned there is that it's not just the first item, but it's actually the first item and boots.
Yeah, he's
big.
in terms of effective gold in the lane, he's ahead.
Well, we can look at the exact numbers and can see that it's about 1,000 gold that the Ornn is ahead of the Camille. At 13 minutes of the game, this is not to be expected as we see it engage in mid lane here. Nice flash away here from Y1 of Y6.
I think Devout could have been more aggressive there with the Fiddlesticks mid and the Kalista ulti. But it's a good flash, gets him out of danger there. They don't want to overcommit for it, which is fine.
I don't mind Devout's play here at all. I think that he just goes in, looks if he can see the Ornn doesn't get the last turret played. Sadness.
Yeah.
Now Jinx has also secured herself a CS lead down there in the bot lane.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel like in this situation, I would really like to see the Swain's flash perhaps be abused a little bit, because Fiddle Galio is still a pretty potent dive, while Ornn is just winning, I guess.
He's out of mana. I think he could have taken that fight.
Wait,
As there's 4 players down towards the bot side for no reason. No one was there.
It's good map awareness though from the blue bot side to know, hey, they might be diving us bot, mid missing, so they just back off. They conceded a little bit. And
They do lose the first turret here. Oh, the Ornn wants to take this fight. Camille maybe overstepping here a little bit. The Ornn Horn is up available, but the Olaf is here to try to recover the situation. Now the Ornn Horn comes out. The Camille doesn't have R anymore, so he does go forward. He claps her once. Does he clap her twice? No, he doesn't actually get the second part of the W. If that connects, that would be the 1v2 outplay. But like this, Lunge manages to avoid the gank nicely. Make the gank work nicely as Fiddle finds himself a little bit caught here. Flashes out, but does still have the ultimate available. Now the knockup also lands, and he thus gets to activate his R and then fully channel his W. And so that's 2 free pickups here for the side of TLC as they manage to recover. Devout now having made his way into the mid lane, having support from his Kalista, who does still have the Fate's Call. Do they want to go forward? Solar Flare whiffing for now, as Kalista is now starting to aggress further forward. This time the Zenith Blade connects, and Kalista finding her second kill of the game. This might lead into a full transition from the bot side up into the Rift Herald, while the Ornn goes down to collect the bot side wave.
The rotations from last choice here are impeccable.
Pristine.
Like, hey guys, bot lane isn't working. Let's rotate our bot mid, go for Herald. In the meantime, Fiddle makes a really nice play with the Galio ult, and then on the backside, Swain just gets picked up. No flash, nothing he can do.
And also the timing of his stopwatch there from Bianco was
really nice.
Really good.
But yeah, I think big credit to the Galio. He's been getting around quite a lot. He's been bot twice. He's been topside once. Like,
has a CS
really
lead.
he's making the difference in these close fights. I feel
Yeah.
like when
And he has a CS lead.
yeah, he's really doing.
It's
He's
not
playing it well.
a big CS lead, of course, but you know he's up there. He is certainly hitting those minions, and he's certainly hitting those champions as well. As now, Crown of the Ruin King want to defend the vision that they have built up around the dragon. Polymorph onto the Ornn here.
I mean, this is the position that blue side doesn't want to be in. There's an objective up, but they don't have vision control and they don't have like positional control in the river. So now they're forced into probably Fog of War onto the team that has all the engage tools, right?
And
Jinx is
walking
looking
into
for
a
the
Fiddle and Fog is dangerous. Now Darkshin is actually positioning himself for the seal. He does go over. He still has the ultimate available. Ragnarok not quite popped yet. The Jinx secures the dragon with a zap and thus actually goes over the dragon. Now Bianco is trying to look for the fight on the back end of it and actually manages to pick up 2 more kills. That means that there's 3 kills already, and Wyvern of Wessex yet again finds himself in the 2v1 against TLC spotlight. So although they do collect the dragon on the side of Crown of the Ruin King, they do lose the fight afterwards, and this might have bigger repercussions than was initially thought of. Rift Herald not being up anymore, as that it was used to actually secure the mid lane priority earlier on, but now they can actually look to crack this mid lane tier 2 turret, as Galio finds himself up in the matchup against the Camille, as we highlighted before we loaded into the game.
That team fight right there is the prime example of why you don't want to be forced to walk through Fog of War and perhaps not be as coordinated and grouped into a team with that amount of engage. Because Olaf is gone in, he gets picked off. Now it's a 4v5. Fiddle ult is up, Callista ult is up. They're going in, and it's just curtains for the blue side here.
But it is not curtains all like overall.
On the game. Of course not, no.
They have 3 dragons. Dragon Soul is on the horizon.
And it is
And a
mountain.
Callista against the Mountain Soul is no fun at all.
Yeah.
And then that only leaves basically the Fiddlesticks as the damage source.
I mean, the Galio is actually, he's built at full damage too. I like that a lot. Full AP Galio. The Night Harvester is a little bit interesting to me. I think I would have preferred to see Rocket Belt, but hey, to each their own.
I would have expected to see that as well. As the Fiddle now ults over the wall here, and they just managed to pick off the Jinx. And there's a Olaf coming from the other side of the turret, and the Lulu as well. Okay, this is getting a little bit wet and wily, as now the Galio ult comes in, and they just Justice Punch them down. Callista finding herself in the 1v1 against the Camille that she's actually looking for aggressively, and just gets taken out as the shutdown gold does go over to the side of Lungier.
I mean, great positioning from Bianco, to be honest. Like, blue side, I think we're a little late on that play. But either way, that Fiddle ult, it didn't start great. He didn't get the greatest opening, but, like, just between Galio and Fiddle, the amount of just... They just delete Just League things. And, you know, then you're left with a Lulu Olaf under tower. You're just a little bit late to that play. But again, you know, good macro decisions from TLC.
They just
yeah.
walked through the tower, though. There was, like, I was surprised to see the Olaf walking through. And then the Lulu is just behind him. And Blanco takes full advantage of the situation beforehand. Teaming up nicely with Lago, as I've just been told that it is a Blanco instead of a Bianco. It is just sort of...
It is an L and not an I.
Yes.
I see. Also, if we just take a moment to look at the difference in vision at the moment. Like, blue side has a few defensive wards, but like, these are not the angles where Fiddlesticks is going to be looking over a wall from. You know what I mean?
No, these are the angles where Fiddlesticks clears the wards from. Now, there's a single ward in red side territory, and other than that, there's one in river, one at blue buff, and one in the tribush and ball lane, and that's it.
Like, once this blue team...
Oh, they're collapsing onto the spot lane here. Are they gonna go in? No, TLC's bot lane does decide to back off here.
But once Crown of the Ruin King, once they lose map control, I feel like it becomes extremely hard for them to look for advantages and look for team fights. Because again, unless the last choice is walking into you, it becomes really difficult for your Swain.
Blanco has found the Jinx once again. The Solar Flare does not stun it, but it's just enough to slow her. And the damage from the Fiddlesticks from the side of Blanco coming out here is just tremendous.
It looks like, are they starting up the Baron?
Lago
Yeah,
taking a
look
good chunk of damage as the Wyvern of Wessex flashes forward, and Blanco just waters his way away.
Walks it off.
Walks it off. Well, they have
But
started
yeah.
the Baron, as you mentioned before. And, I mean, there is two people to tank it, and then Fiddlesticks Callista behind it. That
Yeah,
is
you smite that at whenever you want.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, they did actually smite it whenever they want.
yeah, I think that's the smartest decision you can take from blue side here. Just concede the Baron, go and set up your vision bot side, maybe get bot tower because you need the priority to have an efficient team fight. But that TP from the Ornn, really, he doesn't want to give it to him, right? Oh, here we go, 2v3 here.
Well, the Lulu is caught out here, and the TP comes in from Lunge as Blanco has already ulted. Now the Galio comes down. Solar
maybe
Flare
they're
this
gonna keep
time
going.
around lands on the Jinx, but it's just Devout at the moment. Lago now slowly making his way forward here, as there's just so much lockup onto the Jinx, and the damage from the Galio Night
Damn it.
Harvester was just disgraceful.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say. That red team got a small lead, went with it. The Galio and the Fiddlesticks really dragging their team out of that early deficit, and now it's brutal. Like, they just pick a target, everyone presses all their buttons, not even all of them, and it's just not a whole lot any of the Crown of the Ruined King can do about it.
Look at the stacks on that Fiddlesticks. 24. He's just missing a single stack until he has Magi's complete.
And I mean, even like with the Magi's nerf, I think it's completely warranted in a game like this.
Not just that, but the Magi's was nerfed. It was only the Darkseer that was nerfed. And
Oh,
is-
was it not the Magi's?
Yeah, no.
Oh, my mistake. But yeah, we can see, like, look at the vision score on this fiddle, by the way. In comparison to the Olaf, like, that's just Fiddlesticks
That's
passive.
effigies, yeah. That's
Yeah.
effigies for you.
And it shows, like, look at the vision control red side have right now. I think that's one of 2 wards being cleared out for Team Blue there.
Lago does find himself
Oh.
a little bit caught here, but is he
Oh.
caught or did he catch them? Now Devout
Call an
completely
ambulance.
whiffing the Solar Flare as Wyvern of Wessex is looking aggressively here. Lago actually manages to use the Justice Punch out. Zenith Blade once again whiffing as the Olaf does die on the backside. Now Jinx does find the kill on the Callista here. And so that will be 2 kills in the end for the side of Crown of the Ruined King as they try to desperately upraw and give it their last stand as they defend their inhib in mid lane.
2 kills, 2 good kills onto the Jinx. That's just more gold for her. But I feel like the Callista, especially in this game, as much as you want it, like, she's not the carry at the moment. Like, you want to find yourself that 700 gold shutdown onto the Fiddlesticks, right? That's what you really want. But blue side taking what they can get is 2 good pickups for them. So
I think they would
yeah.
also take the kill on the Galio because both of those members have not died yet.
Yeah.
Blanco and Lago really showing us something here. A little something something. I think Terminate... Yeah. Termine? Terminator? Having a pretty good game as well, but obviously being extremely counterpicked. So
Also, he's level 15. There are going to be some more items coming out. There's already one down onto TLC Jinx, and by that I mean Callista, because names are cool. But
yeah, it's a bit
we'll see.
confusing.
Yeah. I think once we start to see the item come out onto Fiddlesticks, that's when I'm scared anyway for blue side here.
I think I'm
'Cause,
already scared, to be honest. I will not lie to you. I am already scared of what is ahead of me. I don't want to give that Fiddlesticks that last stack.
I mean, Fiddlesticks is also near enough getting his death cap. It'll be up for the next Dragon or Baron, whichever one comes up first. That is going to be... It's going to be a big Fiddlesticks. It's
They're
gonna be
actually going to be coming up at pretty much exactly the same time.
Okay.
As TLC just keeps looking for vision and keeps getting vision, even though Crown of the Ruined King has managed to free themselves a little bit outside of their base here, they're still just going forward and clearing wards. Devout
This
has
pick here?
no fear here. None.
None. Yeah. He can do what he wants though. He has the Callista ult to back him up.
And
Like, as
here
long as
he
the
even
Callista's
has the
there.
fiddlesticks. As this time,
Oh.
Wyvern of Wessex, you have been caught. That was a bush you should not have face checked. Camille finding herself behind the Ornn in this case. Does
I think
just
the
go for
Ornn
the
wins
recall.
that. Is that
I'm
bad to
scared.
say?
I think you might be right, especially with that Thornmail and the Frozen Heart coming in. A
What do you think
full
of the
item
Titanic
ahead.
Hydra, by the way? Just out of curiosity.
Well, I think that the Jinx is dead,
Yeah.
but I might
mean, it's
be
a-
wrong. As this time around, Blanco does not get the perfect ultimate and might actually go down to launch. He does use the Zhonya's a little bit after the fact, and it's just not enough. Pretty big misplays coming in here from the side of TLC, but they are slapping them with their wallets, and it is just doom and
It's-
gloom.
It's desperation plays here for Crown of the Ruined King, right? Like,
Yeah, they're looking for what they can get. This time around, the Zenith Blade does land, but he has no mana for any further fallout. Does not even get to cast the W, and
no Callista.
Callista will get caught here, but the Ornn is still pretty big. I don't know if they can keep going for this. They definitely want the kill
flash.
on the Fiddlesticks, but Lago has actually managed to peel his
Galio.
way. Oh my goodness, he just one-shot that Jinx. Holy moly, that was 600 damage on a Justice Punch.
AP Galio, baby. Mid lane Galio is a fun one. He'll do that to you.
The stacks have been completed. Every single page in the book is filled with one of the names of the side of Crown of the Ruined King. And even though Viego might have something to say about that, this time he will not lift it. And the game does look to be going over as they're trying to desperately defend their Nexus. But TLC says, nope, not today. You gave me Fiddlesticks, so I get this game. Beautiful game here from the side of TLC, and we are excited to see what they can do in the future. All right. That was a game and a half. I think there were some very, very impressive things coming in from TLC, especially from mid jungle. I think those are two players that we're definitely going to be keeping our eye on. But Crown of the Ruined King, also not without its advantages and small avenues that they did find into the game. Particularly in that bot lane, there was a lot of good things that happened for them early on in a matchup that they didn't even necessarily think that they should be winning. They still found some good things.
I mean, yeah, I think they were both. There were situations where maybe the Jinx could have snowballed something, but I just feel like